And welcome everybody to another edition here of the Mouse Steel Podcast, which of course here's Charles Prodigy Richey right now. It is another victory week here once again for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the black and gold right now. Setting history on Sunday, going to 8-0 for the first time ever as a franchise, beating their previous franchise best of 1978, where they went on the goal to win their third Super Bowl. They started off at 7-0 and went on to lose that game to the Houston Oilers later down the stretch. But right now, the Steelers, they're still undefeated right now, still maintain a two-game lead in the AFC North. Almost got struck down to a game by a huge upset this past Sunday, to say the least, right there. Very frustrating game to watch. When you look at the running game on both sides of the ball, special teams, and just those are the biggest things right there. They were a real scare in that game. But other than that, the Steelers do find a way to survive, almost losing to a fourth-string quarterback, which would have been beyond disastrous right there. And I guess the saying gets kind of true. I mean, Mike Tomlin does play down to his competition, despite the fact he does get a lot of wins against losing teams. But we're going to get into that in just a moment here. But once again, we're on the Metal Steel Podcast right now. Well, of course, here's truly Charles Project Richie. Right now, as we look at it, Mike Tomlin right now, he does make history right now. He officially passes Tony Dungy in career wins total. He was tied with him for 148. Now he is at 149, 81, and 1. And on the road against losing teams, he is 30 and 23, 566 with 132-point differential right there. So those are the facts right there. Those are the numbers. Basically, at the end of the day, I know the eye test will definitely argue a lot more different for right now. But the fact of the matter is the Steelers do maintain their lead in the AFC North, which is number one, and they're still the top seed in the AFC. But I will say this right now. I got to tell you, I think the team that really made a statement this past weekend, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Chiefs are still a team to beat, go get the Super Bowl. Still got to beat the Cavs, but got to give some mad credit to the New Orleans Saints right there. Did not expect a 38-3 shellacking of Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football right there. And starting to see a little bit of criticism right there, which is starting to hit the surface right now of Bruce Arians on Tom Brady right now. And there seems to be like a little frustration there as far as the critiques right now. And we'll get into that a whole other time. But I do got some update on the power rankings right now. Pittsburgh Steelers remain in the same spot as they were last week, according to NFL.com, which is the number 2 spot. So they didn't move anywhere. To be perfectly honest with you, the way they played this Cowboys game this past Sunday, I would have expected them to be out of the top 2. I would probably drop them to like maybe when we look at it right here, I will probably drop them to number 4. Just the way they played, because it was just a roller coaster, to say the least, right there. And you also got a guy in, Tyson Alalu right now, who has missed, I mean, basically the last 2 games. I mean, he was there briefly for the Ravens game, but I mean, when you look at a guy like Alalu right here, who's been battling a knee injury, he did not practice all of last week. He was ruled out for this weekend's contest versus the Cowboys here. And I got to tell you right now, I think for right now, when you look at where the Steelers are at right now, I mean, he definitely helps big time as far as like in the run defense right now. When we look at it, I mean, pretty much for this season here. And I got to tell you, I mean, that was just pretty embarrassing right there, to say the least. I mean, you have like basically in that game, I mean, the quarterback, Garrett Gilbert, he got 28 yards on the ground. And then Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, they combined for 108 yards, plus 8 more from Amari Cooper. So 144 yards given up on the ground. They were outrushed by about 98 yards. And one of the biggest things I was bragging about the Steelers all year long was their stuff percentage, according to FootballOutsiders.com. They are number 2 at stuff percentage, which is 26%. And basically, when you also get into this team a lot more too, I mean, don't forget, I mean, heading into this contest, I mean, versus Dallas Cowboys, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, they were coming in here with the fourth best rushing yards surrendered, and they only given up 678 yards, which is still decent. But then when you look at the flip side on the offense into this game, it, it was ranked 20th at 826 yards. And I got to tell you right now, I mean, that is a huge problem right there if they cannot figure this out. They got plenty of time, don't get me wrong. That's the good news. And I like the position where they're at right now. I mean, versus where we were 3 years ago. You basically had over a month left to go where you pretty much had to like throw a monkey wrench and figure out something real fast. I mean, this time around, you got yourself at least over 2 months left in the season to buy yourself some time, get some things to figure out, go back to the drawing board on here. Because right now, as we look at it, I mean, the Steelers right now, they are seventh in defending against the run. And then on the flip side, too, for that, for this year, as far as like running the ball, they are now 23rd with 872 yards. That's got to get fixed in a hurry. And I'm sure Mike Tomlin, he's got a strategy to do that. But, I mean, let's not forget, too, I think one of the biggest controversies of the game, a lot of people have been talking about, including like some of the announcers, basically, why did Mike Tomlin elect not to kick the field goal? You could have been up by 8 points, forcing the Cowboys to score a touchdown, plus the two-point conversion to tie it. Let me just say this. I had no problem with the call whatsoever. I really did not. My first instinct when watching that game, I'm just thinking to myself, typical Mike Tomlin right there, being the aggressor. And I tend to like that in that situation. He wants to go ahead and put the knockout punch on teams. Obviously, it did not work. I mean, the only problem I'm having when you're going for these third and shorts or fourth and shorts, whatever, I mean, especially in that Cowboys game, when you only need like a yard to make, is you're pitching out and you're trying to do a sweep versus plunging up the middle. Now, basically, one of the things, too, I think Mike Tomlin was saying in regards to that, too, I mean, why he did not go, I mean, for, I mean, like the field goal, basically, he was not too comfortable with the way the special teams were for the Cowboys. If you remember earlier in the game, Boswell, he missed his very first extra point attempt. He missed one again later on, so he was over two on PA attempts. But however, he was 2 for 2 on regular field goal kicks. With the one, he had to make at least. He was trying to go for a 54-yard attempt. There was a flag, and they had to re-kick. So he re-kicks it, kicks a 59-yard field goal in that game. And basically, I think just Tomlin, I think he's seen enough. And, I mean, that's a sign right there. And I got to agree with a guy like Matt Williamson, too. I mean, of Steelers Live, the extra point right there with Missy Matthews, Mike Pursuta, and Craig Wolfley. Yeah, I mean, that was just truly evidence right there. No way about it. Like I said, I have no regrets on that call. The execution was just very poor right there. And I would do the same thing all over again. I mean, even if I was in a video game or even in person, I would go for that 4th and 1. I would. Only because your players have to execute it properly. End of the day. Again, we're discussing the Steelers versus Cowboys win right now here on the Mass Steel podcast. We're going to get into game balls in just a moment here. But as you just heard me announce right now, like I said, the Pittsburgh Steelers remain number 2 in the power rankings for this week as we tend to look at things for right now, going into everything. And I got to tell you right now, when we also look at it too, one of the biggest concerns going into this week right now was reported by Dale Lolley of DK Pittsburgh Sports that Ben Roethlisberger has tested positive. They just learned this morning. Remember, Vance McDonald, he had an illness. I think on Friday he was listed with an illness. He was added to the injury report. We had no idea who that guy was until yesterday, according to Burt Lawton, because he did not practice on Friday. He was questionable due to an illness. Burt Law revealed it that it was Vance or Dale Lolley or someone did that it was Vance McDowell was the guy who tested positive. He went on to play that game in this contest right there. I think that's got to be one of the bigger concerns right there. Why would you allow this guy to play when he's battling with illness unless there were some like false positive tests that were just misleading? I don't know. That was a pretty poor decision. I mean, if anything, Mike Tomlin deserves to be criticized of, I would say that. I mean, considering like how the Steelers been handling, preparing his teammates for all the virtual meetings and getting these guys on the same page and always preaching, it's just one step. You know, if one person takes a misstep, it's a misstep for everybody. And everybody's got to be on the same page. And I commend Tomlin for the job he's done. But I got to tell you, the decision to have Vance McDonald play in this game, especially when you reflect back to last week, Marlon Humphrey, who tested positive, which they found out last Monday, and the Steelers got a fine during their win against the Ravens for mask violations. So you wonder if these mask violation fines probably contributed to something being spread from someone. Because remember, we learned towards the end of the week it was a staff member who actually had a positive test, and that was the thing that was very unfortunate right now. And you start to wonder right now the investigation, everything that happened here, but at the same time too, it is what it is. This is COVID-19. Not expecting them to skate by, but you gotta give Tom a lot of credit up to this point. But like I said, I do criticize him on the decision right now as far as having Vance McDonald played. I will probably just let him sat that game. And I mean, this Cowboys game right now, I mean, they're still a desperate team, but I think there's a few guys, I mean, you could have probably had resting in this game, which they could have probably done without. And like the guys who I would probably have been okay with if they did not play in this game would have been maybe Hayward. I mean, probably just let him rest up a little bit. I mean, feeling a quadriceps injury, but then again, if he's good to go, he's good to go. I mean, that's about it. If you guys want to feel free to disagree with me, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. If you guys want to catch me on Instagram as well, I'm also streaming live off of at Mass Steel Nation right there as we are getting in a lot more stuff right here. Positive test right now, very big concern right now. If Ben Roethlisberger is be able to go for this Sunday when they have their very first matchup of the season against a rookie phenom right now, we'll see how he does. Joe Burrow right now, the number one overall pick for the Bengals right now, get to see a whole different animal in the AFC North. I mean, 2 years ago was Baker Mayfield, and now this, and then of course Lamar Jackson. So when we look at everything, and you start to see everything start to move along here for this time. And speaking of which, right now, Mike Tomlin was on the quarterback situation in case Ben isn't ready to go. Because remember, he cannot be allowed in the UPC sports complex facility. He's going to have to do his meetings virtual with a guy with right inside linebacker Vince Williams, running back Jalen Samuels, and tackle Gerald Hawkins. They'll have to isolate for 5 days. They will not be permitted to join the team this week. They are permitted to take place in virtual meetings. Mike Tomlin did say there is a chance because they're veteran status, but both Roethlisberger and Williams could play provided they make it through the testing protocol without turning up positive for the virus. And usually he's not had players before start a game after a week of which they did not practice all week. But however, he has been making exceptions for veteran players, especially Big Ben, who is in the 17th season right now. And he said, we're going to work both young quarterbacks this week. Mason Rudolph is going to get the bulk of the work. I'm not opposed to playing anybody that's going to increase our chances to win, end quote, according to Mike Tomlin. Now, just get back on the field goal attempt. The exact quote from Tomlin and why no field goal attempt at the end of the game. I didn't feel good about it. I had seen enough of their dominance on special teams right there, too. I mean, one of them, you could imagine right there, after they had that monstrous kickoff return, that was a loud right there. And I forget if that was, I want to say that was in the third, maybe fourth quarter early. But still, I mean, you saw right there, and it was just a pretty frustrating day. And I agree with Ron Cook, by the way. Again, Ron Cook, my condolences go out on the loss of your mother right there. This guy writes for the Pittsburgh Post Gazette. He's on 93.7 The Fan with Joe Starkey. He catches them every mornings for the afternoons from 10 a.m. to, I want to say, 2 p.m., I want to say, is when they're done on 93.7 The Fan. You can listen to them on radio.com right there and hear their content Monday through Friday. And yeah, I think right now, I mean, his mother said that she lived to be 98 years old, convinced she was going to be 100. But again, prayers, love, deepest sympathies go out to you, my man, and you and your family. And sorry for the loss. It's a sad thing to hear for anybody going through it, especially during these times right now. And when we tune in here on this edition here of the Mass Steel podcast right now, we're, of course, yours truly, Charles the Prodigy, Richey here. Also, some other notes right here. Eric Ebron on this 8-0 start. Everything we face, adversity, we fight. I won't bet against us. Well, and also, according to Missy Matthews, Steelers report, the Steelers are the 27th team to start the season 8-0 since the 1970 merger. The previous 26 all reached the playoffs and 8 eventually won the Super Bowl. Most recently, the 2009 New Orleans Saints. So that's good, encouraging stats. So pretty much everybody who's started 8-0 pretty much has been like a lock for the playoffs at this point in time. Also, further mentioned by Missy Matthews, which was retweeted courtesy of Next Gen Stats. TJ Watt had career high 10 pressures, 9 of which came in the second half as the Steelers came back from a 10-point deficit. Watt has 10 more pressures than any other player in the NFL this season. Donald 38 and leads the NFL in pressure rate at 20.9%. Also, Ben Roethlisberger, he registered his 68th 300th yard pass game of his career, regular season and postseason, which is not only a Steeler record, but he also eclipsed Pro Football Hall of Famer Dan Marino's 67 for 6th in NFL history. Also, in regards to inside linebacker Avery Williamson that the Steelers acquired last week, Tomlin said that Avery Williamson will get a lot of physical reps this week. The team did not have any intention of using him versus Dallas on Sunday unless they had to. And that's pretty much all the news right there coming out of Mike Tomlin. Basically, what's your concerns right now after hearing everything right now? What is the pulse right now, if you ask me, with a guy like Ben Roethlisberger? I mean, testing positive right now. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, remember, on Sunday also announced, too, on the pregame show that Baker Mayfield was on, and he seems to be doing all right now. He seems like he should be good to go this week. But just a reminder how much that is. And we're going to get to our game balls here in just a second. I apologize for not doing my post-game show on Sunday. I was out watching the game at Steeler Bar, and I came a little later. And yesterday I was having some technical issues with my audio following my one guest. But anyway, I mean, right now, I mean, legitimate concern. Let's get in the fair foul topic number one. Pittsburgh Steelers will not be where they are without Ben Roethlisberger. Absolutely fair. I mean, big time. I mean, when you look at, I mean, there's quite a few games that the Steelers will probably end up losing this year if Ben Roethlisberger is not fully healthy this year. I mean, you probably lose the home opener against the Denver Broncos. You probably even make an argument for the Eagles. I would also say the Ravens. Titans, I think they find a way to hang on. I think it'd definitely be like a 3-game swing. I think they'd probably be at 5-3 at this point in time without him. I just don't see where they'd have a losing record, but I'm not sure about 3-5. But I'd definitely say about 5-3 at this point. I mean, when we look at the end of the day, I mean, he still has so much wins above replacement. I mean, when you look at last year when he went out in last year's home opener, I mean, how much the fortunes changed big time. I mean, Mike Tomlin did one hell of a job getting them to not having a losing season, but at the end of the day, uh, the defense wore out. And after everything, after pulling out the Mika Fitzpatrick trade and everything, you can only just do so much. You ask a team to like pull so much will and sledding here. So again, I like the fact that he's back, but definitely, absolutely, they would not be where he's at. Now let's go ahead and get some game balls right now. Game ball number one on the offense, no doubt about it. Ben Roethlisberger, who went 29 of 42, 306 yards total. He threw about nearly 200 yards later after he got his knee bumped. Remember, after he scored the first touchdown, he went to the locker room with a little minute left to go. Mason Rudolph did come in there for a few snaps, 2 for 3 for only 3 yards. Obviously lost and confused right there on that. But Ben Roethlisberger definitely was a hero once again, just like as he was last week. And I got to tell you, which leads me to fair foul topic number two. Ben Roethlisberger should get a little bit more leeway as far as like calling plays like backyard football. I do it right now. Why not? I mean, if you probably had a guy like Antonio Brown versus a couple of years ago on your team, I'd probably hold off on that. But at the same time, too, I will say this. I mean, this is what we look at right now. I mean, when we see this team, I mean, at the end of the day, Ben Roethlisberger has been doing this for a long time. I know there's just probably a little bit of a question mark there with Tomlin. I mean, not a big deal right there. But at the same time, too, when we looked at it, I feel like Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, I agree with Michael Irvin in this sense, and where that he's building his legacy right now. This is his legacy moment this season right now. I mean, the big thing that's just very alarming about me, we talk about how this defense was supposed to be real good to be like a Super Bowl. I'll be honest with you, I'm not feeling Super Bowl just yet. I got to see a few more games to prove it. There's a lot more stuff going on, just a few little slip ups at the end of the day. But I do like the fact, though, too, when we also look at it. I mean, speaking of the defense here, I mean, for this season, especially in the red zone defense right now, I mean, I know it slipped up earlier in the year, slowly start to be figuring it back out. They're back at number 11th right now, 59.9, I mean, 09%. So about 59% going into this game. I mean, no, right now, I should say, excuse me. Going into this game, they're 18th. So that's impressive to see them jump up 7 spots following this game. Because in this contest versus the Cowboys, the Steelers right now, they held the Cowboys 0 for 2. So they're 2 for 2 on the red zone defense. Pittsburgh Steelers, which on our plus though too, they went 2 for 3 in red zone scoring. And their red zone scoring touchdown percentage right now, it is at number 9 at nearly 67%. So that's one thing when you look at like the running game not being there, but Ben Roethlisberger is obviously making a huge difference right there. Remember, I mean, a couple of years ago, they were number 1 in red zone scoring. And a lot of people will attribute that, well, you're throwing a lot of your passes to Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, maybe Vance McDonald. But, I mean, then last year when he was out for the season, towards the bottom, definitely working like a dog trying to get any kind of rhythm with the young receivers. I mean, it's just really impressive if you ask me. But at the end of the day, we'll see how this continues to move on here. And that's going to do it for, and one last game ball on defense. Mika Fitzpatrick, 6 total tackles with 5 solo and 2 takeaways. Had a big interception, obviously, in the fourth quarter with 11:54 remaining in the Pittsburgh minus 5-yard line in the end zone right there. Cowboys were supposed to score a touchdown. That was a game-saving interception right there, if you ask me, which kept them in the game. Then later on, a fumble recovery previous in the game with 1:03 remaining in the second quarter, which eventually led to 3 points, not a touchdown. So that's going to do it for this edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast. Once again, you can catch me every Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And that's all I got for right now. But the only thing is, I will say, gotta watch out for these Bengals right now. This is a team right now who seems to be gaining some sort of confidence as we speak right now. The Bengals for this season, I mean, they are 2-5, but I mean, like I said, I mean, got some people. Jim Nantz was one of the very first people who put a warning mark for Steeler fans. I mean, to pay attention to with this team. But like I said, the biggest thing at the end of the day, too, Steelers made number one in the conference by half a game. Now, granted, I mean, they've only played 8 games while the Chiefs played 9 games. The Chiefs have yet to take their bye yet, and then followed by the Chiefs are the Buffalo Bills. I got to tell you right now, I think the Ravens and the Bills are going to be 2 key showdown matchups, 5-star matchups down the stretch in the season, and we'll see. I mean, it's going to be really interesting. I think if the Steelers can manage to at least win the game against the Ravens and the Bills, they'll be looking damn good, if you ask me. And just real special at this point. But like I said, I mean, Mike Tomlin right now, at the end of the day, I mean, he was honored to be the first team in franchise history to have an 8-0 start. But as is football life, you appreciate it for the moment, then you move on. And that's a good thing about Mike Tomlin. Once again, you can follow me on my social media. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey. For the Mouse Steel Podcast on Twitter, it is simply at Mouse Steel CGR and at Mouse Steel Nation on Instagram. As always, leave you. Don't be trolling. Be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.